to my other question that I uh, wanted to ask, and because mental health is very important to
Mhm.
me, and I like to talk to my guests to find out what it is that you're doing. Now, you just said that these are part of your practice. Is there anything else that you are doing to maintain your sanity?
Well, I don't think I'm maintaining my sanity, but um, I have uh, what I call creative well-being, right? So we talk
Okay.
about our mental health, we talk about our physical health, we'll talk about our spiritual health, we'll talk about or we'll talk about mental well-being or physical well-being. We talk about financial well-being. We talk about all this stuff. Most people don't talk about creative well-being, right?
Okay. What is that?
it's 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 basically, I believe that all of us are creative, right? That we have a creative spark in us. I believe that
Yeah.
creativity is what makes us our most human, right? But most of us don't really practice that creativity. And but creativity can come in any way, shape, or form, right? So
Right.
I happen to be very fortunate that I get to write for a living. So that's, I work creatively for a living, but I have to have something else. And so like things like taking pictures of flowers, things like that. Sometimes I'll just do doodles, things like that, and sketchbook. But that creative well-being is, and this is where it starts getting, sort of existential. It's feeding your soul, right? It's taking care of yourself. And so for me, with the pictures of the flowers, I suffer from chronic depression. I've been treated for depression now for like 15, 20 years. I also have anxiety. um, and but when I'm dealing with flowers, like I don't feel none of that stuff, right? Like
Okay.
I'm just there. I'm in a zone, right? And I know enough people who, like, some people, their creativity is cooking. Some people's creativity is collecting stamps, right? Some people's creativity, I mean, you do action figures, right?
True.
That's like, that is it, right? Now, if
Yeah.
someone said to you, you can't do action figures anymore, what would that do to you?
You mean what would it do to them?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
um, no, I mean, yeah. If I, I've actually have felt the physical ramifications of not being able to create, or like I'll have an idea for an action figure in my mind, and when it takes too long for me to get to it, I
Yeah,
feel it physically.
yes.
Yeah.
And so that feeling is when your creative well-being isn't being met, right? And
Yeah.
so what I believe is that we each of us should be finding multiple things to do, right? And even when I talk about self-publishing, right, doing a book like The Death of Bobby Hart, part of that's the creative well-being, because I can't go 3 years in between projects. I can't go 3 years
Uh,
without interacting with people and having them see my work. And so, um, there's a whole philosophy about creative well-being, and it really started to develop while I was teaching at PSU, and really teaching, like, teaching basically creative writing class, but also thinking about why we're creative, right?
right.
And and so and sometimes that creativity can manifest itself in just like stopping and listening to music, like really listening to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, before you started recording, like, I've been listening to a lot of De La Soul again. It's been a long time since I've really
Uh,
sat down and listened to De La Soul, and it was
put
like,
them right up there.
you know here I am listening to them. 3 Feet High and Rising is creeping up on 40 years old, right? It came out in
Oh God.
88 or 89. I can't remember which,
Wow. Okay.
you know, and like, so listening to that album specifically, but all their albums, but that album specifically, it's a very different album to me now, because when it
Absolutely.
came out, I was like 20 years old. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
pushing 60, and it has a completely different meaning. And so sometimes you just sit there and you just listen to music, you know, and you let that creativity of other people, it comes into you. It should be feeding your soul. It should be feeding your mind. It should be invigorating you to do something, even if that creative thing is like, you know, organizing your closet, whatever.
Which I did. I've done that too. I did.
Yeah,
I do a lot of. I'm a habitual room rearranger.
yeah,
So I always like every 6 months I got to change like three of the rooms in the house for some reason.
yeah.
Just yeah, I don't know,
No, I get
but
it.
um, you know, oh, gosh, we talked about. Thank you for participating in that. That is the main purpose of the show, is to talk about what you do in your downtime